Your soulmate is trying to tell you something important. Read this message immediately. My beloved child, stop for just a moment. There is a reason your attention landed here today. Out of every message, every distraction, every path you could have taken, something quietly guided you toward these words. That is not a coincidence. It is as though an unfinished conversation has been waiting for this exact moment, patiently holding its breath until you were ready to hear it. Have you ever felt that strange sensation that someone was thinking about you before your phone even lit up? Or that an unexpected memory arrived without warning, carrying emotions you believed had faded long ago? Those moments are rarely random. Sometimes they are gentle echoes from a connection that still exists beyond ordinary understanding. And today, that connection is asking not for fear, not for doubt, but for your attention. Stay with this message a little longer, because what unfolds next may help you understand why your heart has been restless in ways your mind could never fully explain. There is someone whose thoughts have circled back to you more often than you realize. Not because of unfinished arguments. Not because of regret alone. But because every attempt to move forward somehow led them back to the same invisible doorway, the one marked by your presence. Imagine standing in a room filled with noise, yet hearing only one familiar voice in your memory. That is what this person has been experiencing. They have tried to explain it logically. They have searched for practical answers. They even convinced themselves that time would eventually erase what they feel. Yet every new day quietly challenged that belief. What if the message they are trying to send has never been spoken aloud because they couldn't find words strong enough to carry it? Think about that. Sometimes silence is not emptiness. Sometimes silence is a conversation happening beneath the surface, waiting for the right season to rise. Your soulmate has reached a point where keeping everything inside no longer feels possible. Something important has shifted. A realization arrived unexpectedly, changing the way they see the past, and even more importantly, the future. This realization did not arrive with dramatic fireworks. It came quietly. A simple moment. A familiar place. A passing thought. Yet somehow, that ordinary instant became extraordinary. They suddenly understood that certain people enter our lives only to teach lessons, while others enter to transform who we become forever. And somehow, your name became impossible to ignore. Pause for a second. What if the very questions you've been asking yourself recently are connected to the answers they have only just begun discovering? The timing feels unusual because it is unusual. Pieces that once seemed unrelated are beginning to fit together. Conversations you thought meant nothing. Dreams you dismissed. Unexpected reminders. Even the emotions you couldn't explain. Each one has quietly been preparing the stage for a message that refuses to stay hidden any longer. But here's the remarkable part. This isn't simply about romance. It is about recognition. Recognition changes everything. The moment someone truly recognizes your value, they stop looking at you through yesterday's misunderstandings. They begin seeing the person you have always been beneath every misunderstanding, every distance, every unanswered question. That is exactly where your soulmate stands now. For the first time in a long while, they are no longer focused on what went wrong. They are focused on what still remains possible. Can you feel the difference? One mindset closes doors. The other begins searching for keys. And somewhere deep inside, they believe a key still exists. Not because life is perfect. Not because every obstacle has disappeared. But because hope has quietly become stronger than hesitation. There is another layer you haven't seen yet. Your soulmate has been carrying one sentence inside their heart, a sentence they replay over and over but have never managed to say aloud. It isn't dramatic. It isn't complicated. Yet it has the power to change everything once it is finally spoken. Why haven't they said it? Because sometimes the most important truths require courage that doesn't appear overnight. Courage grows slowly. It gathers strength in silence. It waits until fear becomes smaller than purpose. And that moment may be much closer than anyone expects. Before you move on, hold on to this thought. Not every delay is a denial. Sometimes life stretches the distance between two chapters so that when the next page finally turns, every word carries greater meaning than it ever could have before. The message your soulmate is trying to share has already begun its journey. The only question left is, will you recognize it when it finally reaches you? A quiet shift is happening. Don't rush past this moment, because the next piece of the story reveals why your soulmate could no longer ignore the feeling growing inside them. They didn't wake up one morning with every answer already waiting. Instead, life began placing small signs in front of them, so ordinary that anyone else might have overlooked them. Yet each sign carried the same silent reminder: your connection was not as distant as they once believed. At first, they resisted it. They told themselves it was only nostalgia. Then they called it coincidence. After that, they tried to bury it beneath busy days and endless responsibilities. But something remarkable happened. The more they tried to silence the thought of you, the louder their own heart became. Every distraction eventually circled back to the same question: why does this person still matter so deeply? That question refused to disappear. What if some answers are not discovered by searching harder, but by becoming quiet enough to finally hear them? That is exactly where they are now. Instead of running from their emotions, they have begun listening to them. And what they are hearing is changing everything. Your soulmate has started seeing your story differently. Moments they once misunderstood now appear clearer. Conversations they rushed through suddenly reveal meanings they missed before. Even memories that seemed ordinary now shine with a different light, as though they have been waiting for this realization all along. This is not about living in the past. It is about understanding the past well enough to build a wiser future. Stay with this message, because the next revelation connects directly to the message they have been trying to deliver. There is one truth they wish you could know before anything else. They no longer measure your value by circumstances. They measure it by the peace they feel whenever they imagine a future where honesty replaces confusion, patience replaces assumptions, and hope becomes stronger than uncertainty. That vision has quietly become impossible for them to ignore. Perhaps you've noticed changes within yourself as well. A growing sense that something is shifting, even if you cannot explain why. Sometimes our hearts recognize change before our minds can put words around it. That is why today feels different. Not because everything has already happened. but because something meaningful has begun. Imagine standing before a sunrise. The sky is still dark, yet the horizon has already started changing colors. You cannot fully see the day ahead, but you know it is coming. This moment feels exactly like that. The message your soulmate carries has not reached its final destination yet, but its journey is already underway. If these words are resonating with you, I'd love to know what part spoke to your heart. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments, and if you're enjoying this journey together, subscribing helps you stay connected for the next chapter. Now listen carefully. There is one final thought your soulmate keeps returning to. If only they knew what I finally understand. That single thought has become the quiet heartbeat behind every decision they are beginning to make. And in the next part, you'll discover the surprising realization that gave them the courage to stop hiding what truly matters, the realization that could change the direction of this entire story. Take one more step with me, because the story is reaching a place where everything begins to connect. Until now, you've seen the quiet changes taking place within your soulmate. But what happened next was something they never expected. It wasn't a dramatic event. It wasn't a grand announcement. It was a single moment of complete clarity, a realization that arrived so naturally they could no longer pretend it wasn't real. For the first time, they stopped asking, "What if I'm wrong?" Instead, they asked a completely different question. What if I've waited long enough? That one question changed the direction of their thinking. Sometimes the greatest turning points don't come with loud celebrations. They begin with one quiet decision. The decision to stop hiding from what the heart already knows. Your soulmate has reached that point. They have spent so much time wondering whether the timing was right, whether circumstances would improve, whether life would somehow create the perfect opportunity. But perfection never arrived. What arrived instead was courage. And courage has a remarkable way of opening doors that fear keeps closed. Pause here for a moment. What if the message you've been waiting for isn't delayed because it was forgotten? What if it was delayed because both hearts needed time to become ready for it? That possibility changes everything. The truth they are carrying isn't complicated. It isn't filled with impossible promises. It is simple. They want you to know that your presence has continued to influence their life in ways they never expected. Certain choices they make, certain dreams they imagine, even the person they are becoming, all of it has been quietly shaped by what your connection taught them. Not every important message begins with dramatic words. Sometimes it begins with quiet honesty. I understand now. Those 4 words have echoed through their thoughts more times than they can count. They understand the value of patience. They understand the importance of genuine connection. Most importantly, they understand that some people leave an imprint that time never truly removes. As this understanding grew, something else began to disappear. The fear of being misunderstood. Little by little, hesitation started losing its power. Imagine standing before a bridge you were once afraid to cross. Every day you look at it from a distance, believing it is too difficult, too uncertain, too risky. Then one morning, without even realizing why, your first step feels lighter than it ever has before. That is where your soulmate finds themselves now. They are no longer staring at the bridge. They are beginning to walk across it. You may not see every step yet. You may not hear every word. But movement has already begun. Stay until the final chapter, because the most meaningful part of this journey has not been revealed yet. There is still one message hidden beneath everything you've heard so far. It is the message they have protected for longer than anyone realizes. The message that doesn't ask for perfection. It doesn't ask for impossible expectations. It simply asks for one thing. A chance to be understood for who they truly are. And perhaps, without realizing it, you have been carrying a similar hope within your own heart. Isn't it fascinating how two people can quietly move toward the same truth from completely different directions? Life has a way of arranging those moments when both are finally ready to see what was there all along. The next chapter is where the silence finally begins to speak. The words that have remained unspoken are closer than ever to being revealed. And when that moment arrives, you'll understand why every unexpected turn, every unanswered question, and every quiet pause was leading toward one unforgettable message that neither heart was meant to keep hidden forever. Before this story reaches its final destination, listen closely, because this chapter carries the heartbeat of everything that came before. Your soulmate is no longer standing at the edge of uncertainty. They have crossed an invisible line within themselves, and once that line is crossed, life rarely returns to the way it was. There was a quiet evening when everything seemed completely ordinary. The world moved as it always had. People continued their routines. Nothing appeared unusual on the surface. Yet inside your soulmate's heart, something extraordinary happened. For the first time in a very long while, they stopped imagining every possible outcome and simply allowed themselves to feel the truth. That truth wasn't loud. It didn't arrive with excitement or urgency. It arrived with peace. And sometimes, peace is the strongest confirmation anyone can receive. Think about that for a moment. How often do we search for dramatic signs while overlooking the calm certainty that has been waiting inside us all along? Your soulmate finally recognized that certainty. The message they have been trying to send has never been about changing who you are. It has always been about letting you know that your impact on their journey was real. Not temporary. Not imagined. Real. Every lesson they learned. Every obstacle they overcame. Every dream they refused to abandon. Somehow carried a small reminder of the connection they could never completely forget. Stay with this story a little longer, because the next realization may be the one you've been waiting for. Imagine holding a letter for months, unsure whether to open it because you're afraid of what it might say. Then one day you realize something unexpected. The greatest risk was never opening the letter. The greatest risk was never discovering the truth inside it. That realization has become your soulmate's new perspective. Instead of wondering whether they should speak, they are beginning to wonder why they stayed silent for so long. What changed? Growth. Time. Understanding. Life has a remarkable way of preparing people before placing important conversations in front of them. Perhaps this is one of those moments. Perhaps every unexpected delay has quietly been shaping both of you into people who can finally hear what truly matters. And the message itself? It is simpler than anyone expected. I don't want another opportunity to pass without honesty. Those words have echoed inside their heart countless times. Not because they seek perfection. Not because they expect life to be effortless. But because authenticity has become more valuable than uncertainty. If you've been enjoying this journey, I'd genuinely love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if these stories continue to inspire or encourage you, subscribing is a wonderful way to stay connected for future chapters we share together. Now listen carefully. There is one final piece still hidden. Your soulmate believes that meaningful connections are not measured by how quickly they appear. They are measured by how deeply they transform the people involved. That transformation has already begun. You may not see every detail today. You may not know exactly how the next chapter unfolds. But something within the story has already shifted. Not outwardly. Inwardly. And when change begins inside, the outside world often follows in ways no one could have predicted. The final chapter is waiting just beyond this moment. It is where the message your soulmate has carried for so long is finally spoken without hesitation. It is where quiet hope becomes clear understanding. And it is where every clue from the beginning of this journey comes together, revealing why this message was always meant to find you at exactly the right time. One final moment, don't let your attention wander now, because this is where every quiet clue, every unanswered question, and every hidden feeling finally comes together. If you've stayed through this journey, it wasn't by accident. You were meant to hear the ending, because the ending is not about a mystery anymore. It is about understanding. Your soulmate has carried this message for longer than anyone realizes. Not because they wanted to keep it hidden. Not because they were waiting for the perfect words. But because they finally understood that some messages deserve to be spoken with complete honesty, not rushed emotion. And today, if they could place one letter into your hands, this is what it would say. I hope you know that you mattered more than I ever found the courage to admit. You became a chapter of my life that never truly closed. Even when everything around me changed, the respect I held for you remained. Time didn't erase what I learned because of you, it made those lessons clearer. I no longer want important things to remain unspoken. Take a slow breath and let those words settle. Notice something remarkable. There are no dramatic promises. No impossible expectations. No perfect fairy tale. Only sincerity. Because sincerity has a quiet power that lasts much longer than excitement ever can. What if this entire journey was never about predicting the future? What if it was about reminding you that genuine connections leave lasting marks on both hearts, even when life moves in unexpected directions? That is the hidden truth behind everything you've heard today. The greatest message your soulmate has been trying to send isn't built on uncertainty. It's built on appreciation. On growth. On recognizing someone's value before another day passes unnoticed. And perhaps this message carries something for you as well. Life has a way of placing people on our path for reasons we don't immediately understand. Some teach us strength. Some teach us patience. Some teach us hope. But a rare few inspire us to become a better version of ourselves simply because they existed in our story. Whether your paths meet again or continue in different directions, never underestimate the impact you can have on another person's life through kindness, honesty, and authenticity. Those qualities never lose their value. As this story comes to its close, remember one final thought. Don't measure your journey by how quickly answers arrive. Measure it by the person you become while waiting for them. Because growth is never wasted. Hope is never meaningless. And every sincere connection has the ability to leave light behind long after the moment has passed. If this story brought peace, encouragement, or a new perspective to your heart, thank you for spending these moments with me. Your thoughts always add meaning to these conversations, so I'd truly enjoy reading what resonated with you most. Now the message has been delivered. The silence has found its voice. The unanswered question has found its meaning. And perhaps the most important realization of all is this. Sometimes the message we've been waiting to receive isn't simply about another person. Sometimes it quietly reminds us to trust our own heart, value our own journey, and walk into tomorrow with greater wisdom than we had yesterday. Carry that truth with you. Because every meaningful story ends the same way. Not with an ending, but with a new beginning waiting just beyond the next sunrise. A final whisper before you leave: if your heart has stayed with this journey until now, then listen to these last words carefully. They are not meant to convince you of anything.